Creature Keeper is finally available on Steam. After 4 years of delays, since it was originally supposed to launch all the way back in 2021, it's finally here. Now, if you were a Kickstarter backer to this, my condolences. I know exactly how you feel. I didn't back this game, but I've had projects that I've backed that took many years of delays, eventually released, and were disappointing. Or sometimes they were delayed a bunch of times and they turned out being really good, and it was worth the wait. Now, if you're wondering which one of these two things is Creature Keeper, unfortunately, it's the former. Now, obviously, video game delays are a tricky thing, and the game could come out better for it because maybe the development team needed that extra time to polish, fix bugs, maybe add content, listen to player feedback, and ultimately improve the game. And then other times, maybe the developer is just never in a position where they can make a game and deliver as promised. Don't take my word for it, go back and look at the last 5 years of Creature Keeper trailers. Look how drastically the combat has changed, the creature implementation. Even just by looking at the heads-up display, you can see that this game has gone through some drastic changes over the last 4 years. And I think what happened here is that they never really settled on what worked and stuck with it. They kept trying new things, and then eventually I think we probably got to the point where the publisher's like, okay, time to ship it. And I don't know how this got the green light, but we're gonna get into that in a second. And since I want to do a proper review and not just have this be like a shoot, which is completely unconventional for my review style, I do want to mention the best parts of the game. And by far, these are the story and the soundtrack. Now, the story is incredibly well written, and that goes for each of the characters that you're going to interact with as well. Every single emotion that they're feeling comes across, and it's complemented by these little kind of like emoji faces that'll pop up, which assist in case you aren't quite sure of their mood or their tone and their delivery. There's humorous moments, and this is by far the catalyst of the game. They kept me playing until, well, eventually the game decided I wasn't gonna play it anymore. We'll get to that towards the end of the video. And then the soundtrack is far and away the best part of the game. The soundtrack is absolutely fantastic. I keep a video game music playlist that I listen to pretty frequently, and a few tracks from this game are going to land themselves in that playlist. So that is the highest recommendation I can possibly give for the soundtrack. And then to get to the gameplay, it's the overhead 2D Zelda-style perspective. The combat sees you moving and rolling around on the screen, which the dodge roll is the most lethargic roll in video game history. I never use it because you don't go anywhere when you use it. And then you can also hold the dodge button in order to run. And I'm doing this a lot. You probably can't even tell that I'm running because it's also pretty slow. You can equip 3 different weapons. They each have their own charge attacks. Most of these are found in chests and things like that, so you'll need to explore a bit if you want to acquire as many of these as possible. And for the most part, your character combat is really unsatisfying. And it's unsatisfying because I don't feel like no matter what weapon I use, that I was really doing much damage. And I think they want most of the damage coming from you to come from your creatures. So in this, you're going to recruit creatures. It's a monster tamer. So to do this, it's simple. There's 2 different types of creatures. There are the docile type, which you can interact with. You basically pet them, and then a little meter will come up. You give them different crops. They have different affinities for the crops. And when you fill this meter, it's going to recruit them to your party or send them to your hub area because you can only bring so many on the adventure with you. And then you can upgrade your creatures pretty heavily, whereas you can't upgrade yourself. There are accessories, which you can equip one of. There's also cosmetics if you want to customize their appearance. Some of these are cute, some of these are kind of goofy, but I didn't really use them, but they're there if you're interested in customizing the looks of your creatures. There's a bestiary in this, which is pretty much the most in-depth part of the upgrade process because there's these different challenges on the right side of the screen. And the game doesn't really explain this to you, but you need to complete these for each creature in order to gain a skill point, which you can then put in these like small little trees, I guess we can call them. I don't want to call them skill trees because they're all very generic, passive buffs. And then there's also the Pocket Garden, which is something that you will use for both passive buffs on your creatures and also growing crops to recruit new creatures. So it's pretty important. To buff your creatures, you need to put their little statue somewhere on the grid, and then you want to put red pieces around it. And then the green pieces are simply vegetables and fruits and things like that. Then the last thing I want to draw your attention to is the menu system. This tracks pretty much your quests. It has a mini map for each screen, which is useful, I guess. You don't really need it very often because it's not like it's a confusing game to navigate. It's very linear and straightforward with your objectives. But it also does track your side quests and stuff like that. There's a tip screen. This is where you'll access your bestiary and your pocket garden in your inventory and all those things. It's very basic, but it works. So now to get into some of the issues with the core gameplay, there are general balancing issues. One screen of enemies will be way too tanky and take forever to kill, and then the next you'll clear in a few hits each. There's no consistency. This unfortunately also includes boss fights, which range from stupidly easy to stupidly difficult. And I think a part of the balancing issues are that it seems like they balance this with maybe the player having 2 or 3 creatures at a time at their disposal and not just one. And you can only bring one to the field with you initially, and then obviously you're going to get more as you play through the game. It's not balanced properly, and this is apparent because the beginning of the game is a lot harder than the middle and end portions. There's just no gradual increase in difficulty. It just seemed like it was pretty much the same across the board, and that just makes it wildly inconsistent. Additionally, there's some really cryptic puzzles that don't make any sense whatsoever. Maybe this is partially because most of the items weren't properly named, so when you picked them up, it was placeholder text. This is supposed to be fixed day 1. Hopefully it is, but I don't know. So many things here make me scratch my head, so I'm not too confident that's going to be the case. Then upgrading your creature's perks is pretty dumb, because often they have negative attributes in addition to a positive one. Nobody wants to always apply something negative, and if you choose wrong, too bad. There's no way to reset or choose the other option. If you want a do-over, you'll have to recruit the same creature again and start over. There's visual bugs galore, with text overlapping other text on the screen. There's visual garbage that's there for no reason, and that's something you've probably already noticed on the screen as I've been talking about this. A few times in the forest, an enemy hit me and it locked my controls up. My character would just move around on his own, and this lasted pretty much till I paused and unpaused it. At first, I thought maybe this was a confusion status effect or something, but I don't think that was the case. I was basically soft locked one time in the Pocket Garden since I couldn't fast travel out or use the portal. And then another time I interacted with the travel crystal, and when it brought up the map screen, I was frozen. Which leads me to another complaint, that the game does not tell you how saving is handled. So by quitting out and reloading, I have no clue if I lose progress or not. I believe the travel crystals autosave, but this is never told to you, and not having manual save slots creates issues. And for me, it was a big one. So last but not least, I ran into a game-breaking bug very late in the game that effectively ended my playthrough. As you can see in this room, there's visual garbage everywhere and misplaced things. Well, there's supposed to be a drill here that you power up to clear the rocks, but after leaving the room, and returning, it was no longer here. Reloading the save didn't fix it. Reloading the game didn't fix it. And on top of that, I don't even know if this didn't occur if I would be able to complete the room, because there wasn't enough crystals to have the electricity even reach where the drill was originally. This genuinely was the cherry on top of the shit sundae. This was a game that for the entire time I played it, which consisted of 6.5 total hours, it was like driving a car down the street that you know needs maintenance, but you decided to drive it anyway. And eventually, a few miles down the road, the brakes stop working, but you keep going. Then a tire falls off, but you keep going. And then eventually, something else breaks, and you finally crash. That was what my experience with Creature Keeper was like. It's an absolute lemon. And just for fun, not that you need any more examples of how unfinished this game is, but there's an entry in the bestiary that literally says placeholder. It does nothing. In the release build of the game. Yep. If you're thinking about everything I just discussed and thinking to yourself, well, that's not too bad, I've played worse, I want to assure you that there are far more issues. There's an absolute laundry list of things in this game that I didn't even mention. And the reason being, because if I did, this review would be 45 minutes to an hour long. I chose to only focus on the most egregious of issues. This is a game that absolutely could be good, but the laundry list of issues it has, a lack of polish across literally every facet of the game, except maybe the story and music, just means that this is not a game I recommend to absolutely anyone. It's baffling that this was greenlit in this state and highlights the importance of proper testing and implementation of feedback. This game clearly went through some form of development hell and came out the other side worse for it. I really hope they can manage to polish this game over the coming weeks and months, because I'd love to see this game fully realized, but as someone that playtested this back in early 2024, I can definitely tell you that's very unlikely to occur. Normally in my reviews I like to be optimistic, but in this case, that's simply not possible, because there were bugs present here that I reported over a year ago. So if they didn't fix these in over a year, what makes me believe they're gonna fix them in the coming days and coming weeks? It's just not gonna happen. I hate to be so pessimistic, you guys, but if you haven't already purchased this, just look elsewhere for your creature taming fun, because you're not going to find it here. There's just too many issues that constantly bog down the game. It's like finding a diamond, but it's covered in so much soot and dirt that you can kind of see that there's something valuable there, but there's just too much in between you and what you actually want. Well, this was a first for me. I never really played anything quite like this. And as someone that does test video games months and even in some cases a year or two before the game ever releases, this is genuinely one of the most unpolished things I've ever played, especially for a release build. This is supposed to be release quality, and it's simply so far off that mark that it's baffling. I really hope you guys enjoyed this review, because you're going to get more enjoyment out of me talking about it than actually playing the game. So if you did, definitely make sure to subscribe to the channel. I cover a lot of indie games. I hope you enjoyed your stay. Definitely thumbs up the video, because I suffered a lot of pain playing through this for 6.5 hours that hopefully now you don't have to. And comment below and let me know what you think of it. As always, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.